Okay, we are live, and just to be sure we're live, we're going to check our stream, check our audio. We had a little mess there at the end, so we're going to try to get this bad boy going right, so give us just a second. All right, Brad, my voice is good. Why don't you go ahead and give us a test?
Yo, yo, what's up, my corporate peons? We're back for another episode of Company Culture.
All right, Brad, my voice is good. Well, it seems that I can hear Brad and myself on the stream. So, let's try this. Third time's the charm, right? Third time's the charm. We did the first one on the PlayStation a couple of nights ago. We thought we did a decent job, but it was our first time doing a podcast. This is something that we've been talking about doing forever, and we're gonna do cubicle farm things tonight, and corporate America, and when working from home and all that. But we have like a million ideas. Like we're gonna talk movies and stuff other times, but right now this is what we're focusing on. We're hoping this is the one that we finally get it right. We had a lot of feedback. Brad had a lot of feedback on things that people liked from our test podcast, things they didn't like. So we're gonna try and clean it up tonight. Clean up the audio. We are actually on a PC tonight. Finally, figured that out. So we're gonna give us another try. So I'm gonna kick it over to Brad. He's got a script and everything, and I don't need a script because the script reads me. But here we go, Brad. Let's do it.
I'm glad you can read, Jason. What's up, everybody? It's Brad. That's Jason that gave that great introduction. Company culture, like I said before, I got a lot of text messages and emails from our little audience of articles that they wanted us to include, or maybe topics they wanted us to go over. One of the topics that I kept getting was, what is actually company culture? And I thought about it and I realized I actually have no idea what company culture is. I just think it's a word that people throw around in business meetings to make themselves feel better. So I went ahead and looked up a working definition of company culture, one that I lifted off balancecareers.com so they don't sue me when I quote them. They define company culture as it company culture refers to the attitudes and behaviors of a company and its employees. It is evident in the way an organization's people interact with each other, the values they hold, and the decisions they make. They also added, company culture encompasses a variety of elements, including work environment, company mission, leadership style, value, ethics, expectations, and goals. So let me go through all these real quick, and I could probably answer most of these with one word. Work environment, not great. Company mission, to make money, almost every corporation. Leadership style, archaic. Values, I'm going to say they don't really care about values until they get caught by the US government. Ethics, same thing. They probably care less about ethics. Expectations, you should probably work as much as possible with little help and until you die. And goals, again, money. What do you think, Jason?
Well, I think you actually hit that on the head, and for two reasons. One, everything you said was correct. Two, you also said that you were going to answer all of those with one word, and in very corporate America fashion, you only answered one of those with one word.
Thanks.
you know, but I mean, but that's how we've been trained and how we've pretty much been, socialized into. So I think you're 100% right on everything you hit right there. I mean, I don't think there's anything that you said right now, just now that I disagree with.
So I want to add to it sounds like I'm hating on company culture. I don't even think company culture is a real thing most of the time, or if it is, it's the the worst elements I just said. But I also would like to throw out there, company culture is obviously different across different business types. I know if you work for like Facebook, Google, Apple, they actually have perks for you when you go in. You get free food, massages on site, maybe gyms on site. And I know they do quirky stuff because they think they're so quirky and hip. Um, banking, maybe not as many perks. Although I think I've heard like some of the New York-based banks, they do get a lot of like perks to go back in the office too. Actually, one of my current favorite stories is a bank in San Francisco. They interviewed a manager, and the manager told or said during the interview that her staff has to come back into the office because she brings them cupcakes. And that pretty much defines where we're at right now with this return to office and company culture in America. What do you think, Jason? Do you think it's worth going in just for cupcakes? I know you've had a similar story from your past.
Yeah, anybody who really knows me knows that you don't bring donuts to the office. But but
uh,
but
it,
I mean,
it's weird to me. It's sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's weird to me that like the plan now. I'm gonna be honest. I did a lot of research for this episode because I felt like I didn't do enough for the first episode. Um, it seems like companies are trying to bribe us to go back into the office. I think they know the majority of workers don't want to go. And they're going to some companies are going to crazy lengths. I could tell you that I believe it's Google has a private show by Lizzo for their staff in California. They're also planning pop-up events that will feature this is quoting what they said. They'll have pop-up events that will feature every Googler's I've never heard that actually favorite duo, food and swag. So they're literally just trying to buy us with food. I guess if you're a Lizzo fan, now's a great time to go work for Google. Um,
yeah,
I
but
just
how does that even work, right? Let's just say where I work at, all of a sudden they were like, hey, we're gonna have Juicy J in the courtyard at 1 o'clock. Okay, so I come into the office. I work all morning. I go see Juicy J. Do I have to like go back to work? Do I go home? That was a cool Wednesday. Like, I don't really want to come back tomorrow because Juicy J is not here. Like, how does that even work? Like, why would they think that that would pull me in?
well, what if you're not a Lizzo fan? I think that'd be hilarious too. Like, hey,
Not everybody's a
do you
Juicy
want to go
J
some?
fan, you know?
Yeah. Hey, do you want to go see Lizzo? No, I can't stand her. Well, you have to go anyway. Company culture. Um, yeah. So I, every article I've read about RTO when they're speaking to managers and upper management, they don't seem to be able to relate to the average employee, or they're trying to buy us back into the office. And I would also like to add that Google is still having problems getting their employees back to office, even with, as they said, food and swag or Lizzo performing on, some poor employee's desk or whatever's going on there. So I know Apple, for everyone that wants to run away to tech from wherever they're working currently, just know you might get paid more and you get to see Lizzo, but the grass isn't always greener. Apple's made it clear to their employees that they will need to return to in person work to, and I quote, collaborate. They also said, for all that we've been able to achieve, while many of us have been separated, the truth is that there has been something essentially missing this past year each other. That was straight from Apple CEO Tim Cook. I would also like to add, and this is an article actually sent to me. New York City's unemployment is double the national average as workers snub return to office. And not only that, but the occupancy rates of the buildings in New York is only 34%. That's insane. But that also gives credence to what I've been seeing when I have to go in. It's just me and a bunch of tumbleweeds. What do you think, Jason? Do you have more people at your site?
Starting to see a few more people here and there. No one I know, no one I work with, no one that's like in my like group of uh, what would you say team members that I interact with on a daily basis. Uh, our I think what happened during COVID is like you got a lot more. Well, I say even pre-COVID, just the way our structure was, kind of has. people all across the country, which is actually a very smart structure to not just pigeonhole yourself to certain like cities or locations. You actually open up your talent pool to hire people on teams or groups from all across the world, right? It's a huge talent pool that you can pull from now. Um, with that being
I
said,
hate
like I
I
am,
hate the pigeonhole into cities, but yeah.
yeah, exactly, right. But with that being said, I mean, like, yeah, I'm kind of by myself, so I'm going in to my cubicle farm and not knowing anybody. I mean, and I don't have a reason to really talk to anybody because, like, again, like, and we'll get into this a little later. Like, there's things that I have to meet each day, and I'm just trying to meet that to stay afloat, so that I can get a paycheck every 2 weeks. Because as much as people want to talk about company culture and this and that, what I'm worried about is making that bread to support my family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't care about concerts and donuts and we're having luncheons, and I don't care about that. I don't care about making friends. I want to go to work, do my job, do it well, get paid, and be with my family. And also, I just want to say real quick, if anybody's watching this right now, you just keep seeing the same picture over and over and over again. I want you to think about this. That is the same thing, and every time it flashes, that's just another day, and it looks the same, right? Just another day, and it looks the same. So think about that while we're doing our show here.
Yeah, it makes you really understand the ending of Office Space, why that guy started working construction. Um,
Yeah, right.
well, to keep bagging on tech a little bit, because I do hear this a lot, especially where I work. We're gonna go work tech and make 300 grand and work from wherever we want. And it's always weird places like Des Moines, but uh, just to show how out of touch tech is with their own employees too. Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt was questioned about why he doesn't support RTO. And he had a couple reasons. One was, I don't know how you build great management virtually. I like that he assumes everyone's going to be a manager. I wish we were all so lucky to make some of that manager pay, but I digress. His next famous quote was, "We spent decades having these conversations about people being close together. The discussion at the coffee table and going to coffee. Remember all of that? Was that all wrong?" I think, again, that shows a little out of touch with today's average employee. Then he doubled down and said, "It's not a matter of nostalgia. These are practicalities to working together in person. For example, that younger employees get to have conversations about professionalism, which might be particularly necessary at companies full of young employees." He also said younger employees, particularly those between the ages of 25 and 35, can also use in office settings to more effectively develop their management style. For him, this includes learning about meeting etiquette, presentation skills, workplace politics, and dealing with competitors, both internally and externally. Let me address some of those last couple points he made. Learning about meeting etiquette. I think it's hilarious that he thinks anybody over the age of 24 needs to learn about meeting etiquette. Like these guys are just working, or guys or women are just working or walking in pajama pants, eating a burrito, and screaming the F word to everyone on a meeting. Presentation skills.
Actually, let me just jump in there. We talked about this offline today, but I was watching a news channel, and this afternoon, and I watched all of them. But there was a segment they talked about: is there more cursing in the workplace, right? And
Oh, Gene. Yeah.
but the stats all came from board meetings, like senior board meetings, and they were saying that there's more and more cursing apparently at senior board meetings. Me personally, I don't care. I mean, I look, I can hold it when I need to and let it fly when I want to, right? But that almost counter, like those statistics counter the point that was made by the Google CEO, right? It ain't
Yeah.
us. I mean, we're not nobody 35 really. I mean, not nobody, but for the most part, no one 35 or under is a board member of any of these major tech or banking or what do you call it? All these institutions, right? Those are
Yeah.
all like what, you got to be like probably what, 50, maybe there's some 40, late 40s in there somewhere. So that actually right there itself kind of like what we say, counteracts that statement by him.
Yeah. Uh, Now the second thing he said was learn presentation skills. This personally makes me laugh because I've worked at a lot of places, and I can tell you most senior management, and Jason knows this from our previous job. Uh, they couldn't even put together an Excel sheet. Remember, I had to go in and literally make an Excel sheet
Yeah.
for meetings for a guy who had 50 years on the job. So this idea that any young person coming out of college is going to learn presentation skills
Well,
from a manager
I think
is a joke.
we're learning that, as we, well, I think you and I are ages, like, we're in our what, mid 30s, but we're kind of in that middle zone, right? Like the old school but the new school, right? We're in that generation of just everything, like the generation of never having cell phones and always having the phone on the wall, to the generation of, but we have cell phones and technology, we know it, right? We've all
Yeah.
figured out and adapted how to, like you said, use Excel. Like all these jobs everywhere, it's like must be proficient in Excel, and I'm like, why is this even on here? Like, we're all good at Excel, but apparently not, right? It's the older group that never understands really how to use Excel. What, how they can benefit from it. I've even heard stuff as recently as today about Excel and questions that were asked by way higher ups, and I was like, really? And it just again counteracts your point, or not your point, but what you just stated that somebody made as a point, right? Like, you're not teaching me about presentation, you know.
No. And I'd like to add too that when I was hired in my first banking role a long time ago, I was hired on the basis of, in the interview I was asked, "Do you know how to use Excel?" And I forget how old I was at the time, maybe 26, maybe a little younger. And I said, "Yeah, of course I know how to use Excel because we grew up with computers, obviously." And it was kind of a weird question to me. And I was hired as a contractor originally. Got the job, pretty easy. Was working with a lot of spreadsheets and stuff. And I was able to kind of go up quickly in my role. And I remember the manager talking to me later, and she told me straight out, she's like, "Yeah, you would be surprised how many people, especially senior management, that say they know how to use certain systems, and then when you need them to do it, no idea, like crickets." I always thought that was hilarious. To double down on presentation skills, I know they also mean like how to present in a meeting, but it's the same thing. Like every college kid, every person that's under has had to present something in their lives. They even teach it in high school. Don't curse, maybe wear a jacket, try to look people in the eye. And there's some people that like it's not comfortable talking in a group setting. You're not gonna showing up to work and watching a manager be horrible presenting is not going to make you feel better about presenting either. So I'd like to point that out. The next point, which is a hilarious one to me, is workplace politics. The fact that he even said that is already like kind of a red flag of what a toxic environment he must love to be in. Because the fact that we're using, you got to know how to play the game to not get screwed at your job and to
Yeah.
keep advancing is hilarious. And I guess, sure, to his point, maybe that is something you have to show up and learn from an equally horrible manager how to play the game. Currently, I have a really good manager. He doesn't play the game. He actually teaches me and my team, or no, teaches, but tells us don't play the game, don't get involved in workplace politics. It's always going to end bad for you. And a lot of it just turns into gossip and makes you look even worse, which I agree with. What do you think?
I have no comment currently.
So, the last one was kind of a weird one. Dealing with competitors. Does that mean like people trying to poach you?
I'm actually really not sure. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not totally 100% because like it's not like if you work at like Facebook, Twitter's kicking down the door and like confronting you to a knife fight.
I don't even know
What
what
I
that
think could
means
happen is
because I don't.
they could poach you.
I don't have competitors. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm working
Yeah,
at place A and place B comes in and offers me a whole better deal, and I don't mean like the grass is greener type thing, but I mean like a better deal. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't have loyalty to where I work. You know what I mean? Like they haven't given us like the whole company culture thing. They
Mhm.
haven't given me a reason to be loyal. You know,
Yeah.
so I don't even know what that means. Like, what are you trying to say? Like, you don't want me to go somewhere else? Like, well then treat me better. But they don't want to do that.
Well, because you got to be good at workplace politics, Jason. So he said it right in the list. Well, anyway, that was the last quote I grabbed. That's our little section: return to office around the United States, and how management really feels about us, which isn't great at the moment. I would like to throw out that it was brought to my attention by one of our few audience so far that PwC, the CEO of PwC, is actually trying to change a lot of this at their own company. And I know if anyone listened to the first episode, I touted Citibank and their CEO as well, trying to change their culture as much as they can within reason to make life a little more bearable for us peons. And this is a good segue into the main topic of today or tonight: cubicles. How we feel about them. Do they matter? Does it help with any of the reasons they keep touting we have to go back to RTO or go back to the office? And I'm going to start with, we have some cute little nicknames for cubicles, or the floors that the cubicles are on. I know I call it a cube farm because when you walk in, they treat us like cattle and they push us into a cubicle and we have to do our work. I also used to call it Gen Pop, like in prison, because that's how I feel. You got any cool little nicknames, Jason?
Yeah, what the yard? They go to the yard.
Uh, what's another one?
Solitary confinement. And then, like I said, just we all use the cubicle farm.
Yeah.
You know. And then what's the thing that happens in the farm? They call it prairie dogging. Like if something bangs in the office or something, you just see everybody's head pop up over the cubicle to see what happened.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
the,
Anyone the minute coworkers get
yeah,
loud, everyone looks up.
yeah, yeah. All of a sudden, as everyone's peeking over. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll break down cubicles. You know, we went from working from home where we had our own office set up. May not have been great. I didn't live in a very big place. Like I had like 620 square feet of it originally, but I was able to push a desk up against my window and had a decent view of downtown. And I liked it. You bought a chair that you kind of break in, and it's just better. It's just nicer being home. But traded all that in at least 3 days a week. Oh, I guess I should circle back. So most of corporate America is on a hybrid system now, which usually means 3 days in the office, 2 days at home. I've heard different variations from anywhere 1 to 2 days in the office, 3 days at home. I could speak personally. I'm on the 3-2 system. I know Jason is too. So basically, wake up now, fight traffic, go to work, park. Luckily, I have free parking somehow. Go in the office to my beautifully unassigned free for all earned cubicle. And this is a problem happening at a lot of large companies. There's no more assigned seating. It's a free for all. Essentially, we're running corporate fight club when you walk in. People will literally die for that corner office that has the nice view of some sunlight. Not only that, all the cubicles are beige. They look like they're from the 1980s still. I've read a lot of articles saying how much some of these companies spent renovating workspaces to bring them to current. I feel like that's a lie. I've been in a couple buildings and it looks exactly the same as it did pre-COVID. The next thing I was wondering was, how much money do you think some of these companies are spending on us to house us, to have a place for us to work, for us to enjoy the privileges of the cube farm? What do you think, Jason? Give me a number. What do you think?
Mm, I don't know. 50 million
So,
maybe.
so I looked up pre-COVID numbers for a couple of big companies. I don't want to throw any company directly under the bus, But I can say that there's a couple banks that the average was over $1 billion they spent to give us workspace. And it crossed my mind, if they're spending that much money, couldn't they just give us each employee like $200? Be like, hey, build your home office. We're reducing our footprint.
I know there was like some companies, and one that I used to work for that was running out of space and sent a bunch of people home, and they actually at one point would actually pay for your internet. Like they paid your internet bill to get the business class internet, so that you'd have the internet. They sent you monitors. They sent the whole like keyboards. They sent it all for you to be able to work from home or remote, but essentially home. You put all that stuff at home. They paid for all that, and I guarantee you that was a lot cheaper than what it cost to operate a building for a day for people.
No, I agree. And I like to bring up a company I worked for in 2017, a little bit before COVID. I remember there was a push at a bunch of places pre-COVID to start reducing some of their building holdings, essentially, to reduce their footprint and let more workers work from home because it was saving them a lot of money. And a couple of large companies were doing this and planning this, and this is supposed to be the wave of the future as far back as 2017, maybe even as far back as 2012, and some other old school articles I was reading. And I am curious, and what fundamentally changed that in COVID we proved what they wanted. They wanted more of their workforce to work from home. We did it for 2 years, maybe even a little longer. Succeeded at it. A lot of these companies had record profits. And all of a sudden, halfway through COVID, a lot of CEOs like, no, 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 we can't have this. This is not sustainable. But it's been sustainable for a while. And I don't know if they thought we were maybe enjoying ourselves too much, or they saw me with a smile and I don't know, in a coffee shop, and all of a sudden there's just big push from everybody. Like even tech everywhere. Get your ass back in the office. You have to be back in the office.
I think it's
What do
a,
you think changed?
I think it's a generational thing. I can even go back to the military, and uh, I've been out for a while, but you can look at the mandatory fund that's used to have in the military. You'd have like some chief mass sergeant. He's been in the Air Force, Army, Marines, Navy. Well, I guess they don't have chief mass sergeants in the Navy, but uh, you know, or I guess the Marines call it something different too. But Army, Air Force, chief mass sergeant, E9. Guy's been in the military since I joined in Vietnam. And you're like, all right, that's cool. It's like 2003 though, you know. And they're like, well, when I was in the Air Force and I was an airman, this is how we did things, right? And you're like, okay, cool, whatever. And you're still young and learn stuff. And then they'll do the, all right, everyone, we're gonna have a mandatory fun day on Saturday. And you're like, what? And like you realize like they decide they're gonna have a barbecue and everybody has to attend. That's how they're gonna build morale, right? The thing is like that chief master sergeant has retired from the military probably in 2000. I'm gonna say 7 or 8 has retired from the military, and then people his age have gone on to work at these corporate America locations, and they're just stuck in the old ways. We were having a conversation earlier today about how there was a time that when you worked at a business, whether it's corporate America or in the military, like in investigations, I use this for example, in military and investigations, people used pencil and paper. That was the first thing, right? They wrote stuff down on pencil and paper. Everything was done that way. Then at some point, the typewriter came around. They used the typewriter, like that's how they did their stuff. And then the computers came around, but then it was like print, 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 print. You had millions of pieces of paper everywhere, But then like we just keep evolving, right? The problem is we've evolved really fast. We've evolved like extremely fast, right? When it comes to like technology and how we can do our jobs. But you have like these people that are still living in like 1994. You know what I mean? And the thing is, those are the people that are running everything now at all of these. I don't even want to say all the corporations or all the banks or all the technology places, because you do have like the Elon Musk that have figured it out, right? I don't know if there's anyone that doesn't enjoy working for Tesla or SpaceX. But not that
There
I
is
know.
actually. They have a big lawsuit right at the
Oh, do
moment.
they?
Tesla, yeah, from disgruntled employees.
Is
But
that was that Tesla or SpaceX?
it's Tesla.
Well, I could probably see that. But SpaceX, what? Of course, SpaceX is like a niche thing, right? Like if you're there, you would.
Yeah.
And by the way, I would recommend working from home on space launch day. You know what I mean? I get that, right?
Well, that'd be like the old joke I used to say. Could you
Yeah,
imagine if the Navy SEALs had a work from home
yeah.
day?
And like there was jobs I had in the military and stuff that I would have never worked from home. Obviously, you can't do it. And actually, that was even to my point that I was talking about. Is what we talked about earlier. Is like there was a point where I never actually even dreamt of being able to work remote. I keep saying home, but just remote, right? Like it was always desktops everywhere you went. Then all of a sudden, back in like what 2014, 20, somewhere in there, all these like large companies started like issuing laptops, and you're kind of like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But here's the thing: it was slick, right? They issued laptops, and everyone's thinking like, this is cool. Like I got a laptop. But then what they tell you to do? Well, take it home. Take it home with you. Next thing you know, it's a Wednesday night. You've done you put the kids to bed, and you think, oh, I need to finish that thing. Now you're working a couple extra hours on a Wednesday night, on a Thursday night, on the weekend. You're logging on. Next thing you know, you're not just working 40 hours anymore for the company. You are putting in 50, 60 hours, right? Not even really thinking about it because you're trying to be a good employee. And I think like the corporate America CEOs saw that. They loved it because they're getting massive amounts of work out of you. And if you weren't the kind of person that did that, you were the, look, bro, I work 9 to 6 or 8 to 5, or which we all say 9 to 5 is banker hours, but we also have to have this. Well, if you take a lunch, it's really 9 to 6 or 8 to 5,
I
right?
hate that. I
That's so annoying.
hate
Like,
that when
listen,
people say that.
I am in your facility. I no, right? It's 9 to 5 or 8 to 4. But anyways, I digress on that. But we went from that, and they were really getting the mad hours out of us. But the thing was, I think to go back and answer your question, this long tirade I was talking about, like it had to do with all of a sudden we figured out. Well, if you've given me the computer, some of these places were paying for my internet. You give me, that's the thing too. Like a lot of these places sent like monitors and everything to people to work from home during the COVID time. They get you got the whole setup in your crib, whether you live in an apartment, at your mom's house, in your mom's basement, or your own massive mansion. What It doesn't matter. You can do the exact same thing you were doing in the office, right? And I think that I don't know if they panicked, or like I think you mentioned before about like control, like you don't have the control. And I'm honestly not sure what happened, other than just thinking back to, we talked about earlier who's in charge of these board meetings. It's that older generation who've
But it's the
I've
same
always done it
people
this
that it
way,
was.
you know.
It was the same people. It was the same people that it was in 2017, 2018, 2019. When the wave of the future was work from
Yeah,
home's going up, we're reducing our footprint, we're cutting cost, we're being, there's all, every place has this bullshit go to green initiative that no one ever seems to actually do anything about. But, you know,
let's keep
what
the
happened?
cussing down, sir. We're trying to be uh, friendly on there.
Hey, PG-13 podcast. So,
Yeah.
but you know, it's the same people, and I just want to know like what changed psychologically for them.
I don't know, like I said, other than everything I just said, and then you just think about like they lost control, right? Like they kind of had you by the
You could say it.
whatever.
Say
No, I'm saying like whatever you want to say
it.
for guys and whatever you want to say for ladies, and everything else, right? They had you by something, right? And then all of a sudden it was like these guys and ladies, like there's men and women who are up there, right? Who walk around these offices and are like, where is everybody? Oh, they're at home. Well, I need to see some people here, and I think that's what I think maybe one day it just kind of clicked because you're seeing like I think like the for corporate America, the Fortune 500 companies, whether it's like the Lowe's, right? Like Lowe's had like a whole group of people that like do orders and stuff that didn't need to be like in the Lowe's facility, right?
Yeah.
And they were all working remote. Now they're all forced back to the office, and they're like, "Why are we here? Like, why do I need to be in the office to order lumber? I can order lumber. You tell me I need to order, 650 square feet of lumber. I'll order 650 square feet of lumber from the house, right?" But so all these Fortune 500 CEOs, they're like a fraternity themselves, right? And sometimes I wonder if they didn't get together. All what's that movie with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman?
Eyes wide shut.
Eyes Wide. Yeah, maybe they got together like some Eyes Wide Shut party and just decided they were gonna make
Jesus,
everybody
man.
go, make everybody go back to where I don't know, man. So I mean I've talked forever, probably just rambling, but I can't answer your question because there's not
I think you
I
had an interesting point. I
I
think
don't
you had an
yeah.
interesting point that I actually stumbled upon. You said like upper management walking around wondering where everyone is. Do you think this is maybe a response to like loneliness? Like even I
Well,
guess even managers get lonely or upper management gets lonely, and even though they love being in the office because that's what they were taught when they were getting their MBA from whatever second tier school they claim, now no one's in, they're just lonely and maybe
it could be. I mean, you gotta imagine like I don't want to compare these people to dictators and stuff, but just thinking about like if you've been in a position of power, and I don't mean authority, I mean of power, right? Because there's a difference. You've been in a position of power for the last like 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years, and part of that power was when you walked onto the floor, there was a presence, right? And so let me use an example. In the military, if you're an enlisted person and an officer walks in, everyone stands up at attention, right? Now, don't get now. That being said, we're not really talking lieutenants, probably even captains, depending on what job you're in. Like some jobs, lieutenant walks in, they freak out. Jobs I was in, dude, you had to be like an 05 or higher before anybody really gave a crap. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But there was that like, oh, the colonel's here. Oh, the general's here. And this person commanded a presence when they walked around the unit, the squadron, right? They had that like, look at the brass on my shoulders, right? Like that was there. And I think you
I know
have
where you're going with
I think
this.
you
I know
have
where you're
that in
going with
corporate
this.
America. It's like whenever my man decides to come out of the corner office and he wants to just stroll around, he's expecting to see people in their seats working and then other people like, oh sir, hey, how are you, and just kind of like bowing down to him and giving him like letting him command that presence and kind of like feel that energy of I'm in control here, right? That's the only thing I can really think of because
There's such a difference
you
though.
know
Like if you're a colonel or captain and stuff like that's obviously earned through like
well to you
blood
and
and
well
sweat.
to you and I we understand that, but you
Yeah.
you also gotta understand that only like what 2%, 3% of the United States population will ever ever join the military because we're all volunteer force. Like they don't join, so most of them
Yeah.
don't even know what that means. And that's the thing too. They always say like, oh, colonel. And even in the civilian population, like, oh, colonel this, general that. They think they're something. And you have the same issues in the military, right?
I'm a
You'll have
civilian and
you'll
I'm no like smart enough to be like,
yeah
"Hey, that's actually earned," instead of like some random senior manager that may have
yeah
gotten that role
yeah.
due to cronyism. Like,
Well, you'll have this thing in the military where you'll have like enlisted versus officer kind of like battle, right?
yeah.
I mean, I was an enlisted person, um, but you'll have like but I was a NCO, and so I worked my way up and learned the ranks. A lot of times the NCOs got to take care of the officers and stuff, but the enlisted people always respected more that captain or major that was an enlisted person went and got their degree in some way, shape, or form, went to OTS or the academy or something, and then became an officer. That was always the person you wanted to follow, right? They had that respect, and they earned that respect. And those were the kind of, and that's the same in corporate America. You know, it's one thing to work for someone who's just your manager, who's I don't even want to say leading a team, just like I would use the word controlling a team, because you can't say managing or leading if they don't, like, they've never done your job before, but now they're just telling you what to do all day, right?
Well, that
And
happens a lot, but
yeah,
yeah.
it does in corporate America, and then, so we go back to that initial thing of company culture. Well, we're missing a lot of culture because we don't have that, right? We don't have that, like, hey, the person that I work for used to do my job. And see, that's the thing about the military. It's nice. A lot of times, 99% of the time, when I'm like an airman and I just joined, or I'm a private in the Army or Marines, like, the person above me has done my job. The person above them has done my job. Like, you've done that all the way up the chain, right? We don't have that in corporate America, and you're not gonna get it. And you're not gonna get it by forcing people to the office either. You can start hiring the right people, right? There's no reason to, if you're in, let's just say, financial crimes. If you're in financial crimes, right, and you've been in financial crimes for 4, 5, 6 years, you've been doing a thing, moved you up as a senior investigator, and then they hire, like, hey, we're gonna hire Tim. He's coming from debit card investigations, you know, so he knows a lot about this. He doesn't, right? And now he's gonna manage his team. Nobody on that team's gonna be happy, right? Because it's not the right person. But that's what we do in corporate America. So how are you really developing that culture, right? And
Well,
nobody
there's an
cares about
argument
them.
to be made. There's an argument to be made there too about hiring people that maybe haven't done that job, but maybe training them to be good at their job. That's something we lack now too at a lot of corporate, back to company culture. I've been to one place where they put you through boot camp. Every other job I've had since then, they couldn't care less if you know or not. I was at one place where they hired a bunch of people, never trained them, didn't give them any guidelines, not even how to like open certain systems on the computer. And those people sat there for 2 months, not doing anything until finally, I think it might have been you or somebody asked them and be like, "Hey, what are you guys working on?" And their answer, nothing. Well, why? No one's told us anything. No one's taught us anything. I think that in itself is a huge issue too. I think maybe to a certain degree, if you're a manager of one team, there can be transferable skills, but you have to actually also be a good manager and willing to learn or relearn processes. Where I see it now, we put people in charge that don't know anything essentially, and they have no drive to get better at their job or to relate to their employees or to even maybe, the only thing they share is like crummy experiences, and then that jades a whole new generation of employees as well.
Yeah, and well, I just want to check, just a test. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. This headset works actually better than I thought, but yeah, no, I mean, and then the thing is too, uh, and no fault to anybody. I mean, I'm trying to do the same thing. I'm just trying to do, like, whatever I can to get more money. If that means go up in position and stuff and get money, that's what I'm gonna do. But unfortunately, but I
Yeah, but
do,
you're
but I
still
do.
willing to
Well,
learn
I'm willing to
too.
learn and also stay in my lane, right? Like, I'm not trying to go like 5 jobs over and take over, right? I want to stay in my lane where I'm at, and we kind of lose that, like, you know, in these corporations, right? And I think that kills the company culture.
Well, I think what also kills company culture is when you come from somewhere different and then just hire all your cronies from the place you came from. So whatever culture your place did originally have will change. Like it won't even be what it was when you were originally hired. And then there'll be like a weird version of a place you never worked and the place you worked. So I always find that to be kind of an issue too, when people come in and just clean house of everybody, good and bad, because maybe there was some good management there that people liked. But we just don't get rollover like that when we get new CEOs and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And and also, I just want to throw out there right now, just a side note, that if anybody's listening to this while they're at work, please feel free to go ahead and leave some comments, questions, suggestions. Like obviously, we're live right now, and most people are probably in bed to so they get back to the farm tomorrow. But please be sure to leave your comments, questions. Make sure you like and subscribe this. We are going to have a new YouTube channel. We just couldn't get it verified in time, so we'll make sure we move everything over there. But if you are enjoying this, please leave some comments, and if you have some things you want us to talk about or things that we're missing so far that you're listening to and haven't heard, please let us know.
Yeah, feel free to email lostindallas87@gmail.com. Or if you know me personally, you could always call me and text me. I'll maybe pick up. Depends who it is. But all right, so because we kind of drifted a little bit off cubicles, I'll try to write us back on it. Some stuff we didn't say about going into basically corporate fight club to try to get a cube. You may not be able to sit by your team. I think is actually a big issue. I know a lot of companies tout collaboration, but maybe I don't feel like collaborating with the mortgage department for no reason. Or maybe I don't feel like collaborating with audit. Actually, you probably shouldn't collaborate with audit because they probably come for you one day. What do you think? I mean, I know you don't sit by your team either. They're in a different state, just like me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure what to say about that at this point because I haven't. I've been, going back to the office for the last what 3? This is my fourth week, maybe third week, and I haven't even had a chance to like really talk to anyone. But when it comes down to it, like we are in my job, I'm in a production based area, so I have work to do. So like I don't have time to collaborate. Does that make sense? Like I
Yeah,
don't have time to just like shoot the breeze because I have expectations out of me, and it feels. But I think what's frustrating right now, it's a little weird. Is like I have people telling me that I need to, you need to collaborate, you need to talk, you need to coach, you need to mentor, and it's like, yeah, but I have like 15 other things to do, and how do I mentor somebody like that I don't know because like I don't know any of these people, you know, and I know there is something to trying to get to know these people, but they got stuff they're doing too, right? How do you even approach them? And I don't think we've had any guidance on that. Like, yes, I'm old enough to know how to hold a conversation, how to handle conversation. But like, I don't know if they're really even setting us up for success on that at this point. I mean, what do you think? Do you feel that way?
I I don't believe in this collaboration nonsense that anyone tries to throw at their employees. I think you collaborate with your own team, but as we've shown even during COVID, you could do it through phone calls, emails, Messenger. Every company has some type of messenger, whether it be Skype, Facebook, whatever. Um, to collaborate with teams that have nothing to do with what you do and that aren't in your line of business or in your technology field, it doesn't make sense. Like I can't go. It would be like me going to lunch, seeing a firefighter, and then being like, "Hey, man, can you help me with my spreadsheet?" Like, it doesn't make sense. There's nothing about that scenario that makes sense when people push it. I've heard the argument on the tech side where like maybe you're working on an algorithm and there's another team working on this different algorithm and you guys don't know until you make small talk over drinking coffee and then you realize you could you know combine your algorithm into one. I There might be some validity to that. I've been on technology teams. I see how technology teams operate where I'm at currently. That doesn't seem to happen. It seems to go through emails. Not only or also to say that a lot of this stuff is line of business driven. So collaborating outside of like you said earlier, your lane almost has no benefit.
Yeah, there's not, and I would even argue like since this is kind of like the basis for our whole first couple episodes is that I've actually lost some collaboration that I used to have when I worked remote and from home. Because like during the day, I think so. We tried to do this earlier, and we had a technical difficulty, and we had to redo the stream or the podcast. But you asked me earlier, well, what did I do during the day when I was working remote from home? And it was one of those things where I said, like, well, I get up in the morning, and initially my daughter, so I'm a single parent. My daughter was out of school too because of COVID and everything. But I'd get up in the morning, I'd check emails, then I'd like make some breakfast for us and stuff. Then I get back to work, and we go throughout the day. But like throughout the day, yes, I'm doing like the meetings. Yes, I'm working on my stuff that I need to work on. But I would also call people on my team, not on Skype or work stuff, but just on a cell phone, and we would just talk. Sometimes those conversations were strictly about work. Hey, how do I do this? Hey, how do I get that? Hey, how do I figure this out? But a lot of those conversations too were also like, man, this kind of sucks, doesn't it? Or just, someone calls you to complain about something, and you just kind of talk to them and walk them off the ledge, or vice versa. Or you just even call and talk about how their day's going and what their family's doing. So you have like that relationship, right? And since we've returned to the office, I've kind of lost it. I've had like 3 or 4 people that I used to talk to on a almost daily basis, like not every day, but definitely like a couple times a week, where they just call, and while I'm on the cell phone, I have it on speakerphone, and I'm working on my cases and stuff. We're talking, or I'd walk away from my computer and go do something and talk to them. I've lost that. Like I've had them like call me, and I was just like hang up, like, hey, just text me. I'm in the office, because I can't have that conversation with them anymore. And that goes back to the fact of we're on the same team, but we're nowhere near geographically located. That being
Yeah.
said, I don't have a problem with us being, non geographically located, because I do think that it opens a huge talent pool, right? When you're separated, when you can work your job from anywhere in the world, you get the best people, you know. But now you're putting your best people, and you're trying to force relationships, or what do we say, collaboration between people that really don't have much in common, and you've kind of taken away from the collaboration that you already had. Like it was there, like you had it, like you had morale, you had esprit de corps between teammates, even though they were completely geographically separated. You had an esprit de corps between them, and forcing all of them into the office where they can't really even communicate. Because let's be honest, you don't want to talk to each other over your corporate America, systems, because I think we all know when you go on there, the first thing that pops up is what? Well, your conversations may be recorded, blah 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 blah, right? And they
Yeah.
are, they are, right? So now you can only really talk to each other over the cell phone, which is why you did it when you were remote. Because sometimes, two teammates may have things they want to talk about that a manager doesn't want to hear. And maybe during that conversation, they both come up with a way to maybe like address their manager or senior manager or an issue, so they can bounce ideas off each other. You've lost that now too. Like that's gone, because I cannot be in the office and have like Susie call me and say, I'm really, really struggling right now with Tara. Like Tara's killing us. I'm gonna be like, hey, I can't talk to you right now. I'm in the office and people can overhear me. So sorry, right? Maybe I can hit you up later. Like all that is gone. You've lost all that. So I think the collaboration has actually taken a step back. Like the collaboration that you really need, right, for that esprit de corps. You've lost it.
Well, also partly because, like I said, they just shoved you in a random office surrounded by random people that may have nothing to do with what you do. That's a issue too.
Yeah, and I will say, like, and not calling out my job, but my job is one of those jobs that, like, I can't really talk about things even in the space I'm in, even with people around me that are in similar positions, I'm really not even supposed to talk about stuff that I do with anyone who doesn't have like essentially a need to know, right?
Yeah.
So what am I supposed to talk about?
Huh. The weather or sports. Don't talk politics.
Yeah, hey man, did you see the Hornets last night? I don't watch basketball. Okay. Oh, how about American Idol? I don't watch that either. You know what I mean? Like, we've changed. I mean, that's the thing. We have changed. 2.5 years ago, you could have found some people, and I did. I'd always find people that I could like get along with to talk about stuff. But we've changed. We have completely changed, and it's a new world out there.
No, I agree. So, because we've harped on essentially cube farms a little bit. Two different topics were actually suggested to me that people wanted to hear on. One, it just so happened that you heard a little bit about today. Daycare. Return to office and daycare.
Yeah.
Do you think do you think there was almost any thought given to daycare issues?
Well, you hear everything you want to hear, right? The right words are said about we care about you and your family, and this is what we're gonna offer, blah blah blah, right? That's what it's like. I think all these CEOs of all these Fortune 500 companies and all these um, corporate locations, they obviously all went to the same school. You got the same script, kind of thing.
I'm telling you,
But
man, those
but
second tier MBA
but
schools.
but I'm a single parent, and I've worked hard to raise my daughter and stuff, and it's not easy. And during COVID, like the working remote, and I was actually I want to put this out. I was remote before COVID started already. Um, kind of like what you were talking about earlier, right? Where people were doing that. I was part of that. So that has really helped me as a single parent. So today I was in the office. I was minding my own business. I was just sitting at my desk. But you're overhearing conversations and stuff. And I listened to two ladies.
Against your will.
Yeah, yeah. I listened to two ladies. I don't know them. I didn't interject in their conversation, but they were literally let the cube put it up to mine, and they were talking about childcare. And the one lady said, and this was her words verbatim. Like I don't know, I didn't validate her or anything, but I mean this is what she said. We've called 30 daycares in the area since we found out we had to return to the office. Only one that we found said that they could take our daughter, but it wouldn't be until June. It was only for, I'm sorry, not minute, only for 2 days of the week could they actually do it. Mind you, we're all in our area. We're on a 3 days in the office, 2 days at home situation.
Oh,
They could only cover her daughter for 2 days, and yeah, right there, man. And it was $300 a week for the daycare. So I mean that's you know pretty bad. Wait, Brad, can you hear me? Well, it sounds like we may have possibly lost Brad. Um.
Hey, you hear me? My bad, I'm back.
Okay. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all that stuff cut out for a minute. Technical difficulties still.
That's okay. I checked the stream and you can still hear me, and I just want to make sure I can still hear you. I'm pretty sure I can. So let's just check.
All right. I didn't hear a thing you said about daycare, but I hope you made some good points.
Okay, yeah, I just checked the stream, so we can hear you now. No, I just told the story that I told you today that I overheard. I texted you immediately when I heard it. So,
Oh, yeah.
but $300 a week for daycare, and it's only
And
two
that was
days a
only
week.
2
What
days.
does she
Yep.
do? What does she do for the other day? Because the mandatory thing where we're at right now is 3 days in the office and only 2 days home. Like, you know, what does she do for the third day? I mean, I guess her husband's gonna have to pick that up. And the thing, I guess this is what we did the first podcast, and some people said I was bitter. I sounded bitter, and you know what? I mean, I took a little bit of like, really? You guys thought I sounded bitter? And apparently, I sound like Kermit the Frog when I laugh. Whatever. But but here's the thing. I'm gonna say I am a little bit bitter because that situation right there doesn't even affect me. I have been able to figure out. My daughter's 14 now. She's pretty self-sufficient. She's smart. Like I can. Yes, some days I have to work out how do I get her from like school or the bus and stuff, or like during basketball season, it was very easy during the remote time to be able to get her from practices or to practices, whatever. It's probably going to be harder next year now that we have to be in the office. But that lady, I feel for her because her employer has put her in a situation now. I don't want to say almost impossible, but a difficult situation that she doesn't need to be in. Like, there is not a justifiable or quantifiable reason for her to have to pay $300 a week now to get her kid in childcare, and that's not even until June. So what is she doing like from now until then? I don't even know. I didn't even hear that part of the conversation. They didn't even discuss it. I'm sure her husband, because it sounded like she was married, he's having to do something, and he might be one of those guys that, or one of those people that have worked all. Because I keep hearing that. Well, I worked all the way through the pandemic. What? Well, maybe he did, and she did it, and she was the saving grace, right? Of her position was the saving grace of the family at that point. I mean, that
Is
frustrates. This whole thing frustrates me for her because it's unnecessary. She can do her job without a blink of an eye and at a very high effective efficiency rate from home while also raising and taking care of her young children, just like I did. And so that really burns me up. So when people say you sounded bitter, I am somewhat bitter because I'm struggling to find like an actual legitimate reason of why you need to be in the office. And I think we've already spent an hour talking about reasons of why it really doesn't, like, just shooting down the reasons they give.
is is this too much of a socialist idea? Do you think corporate America should foot the bill or maybe have daycares on premises? I know some do actually, but you can't at the moment. I know there's a lot of like offices that don't. Do you think they should be running some daycare the employees don't have to contribute to?
I don't think that's the thing. I don't think they need to, right? Like, to me, a capitalist version of America and a conservative version of America would be, hey, we actually found a way for you to continue to produce as an American, produce as a citizen, make money, pay your taxes, and do all of that. And hell, we don't even have to provide you child care because you're doing it all from home. I mean, we found a way to actually go away from that socialist view of, well, now the government has to subsidize child care and subsidize this, or, well, now your employer has to provide all. They don't have to. All they have to do is say, keep doing what you're doing from home. You've been doing a great job the last 2 years. Just keep doing it. You're fine. And don't give us
I
the reason to get upset with you.
I like your optimism, and this is going to lead into another point. I,
Well, no,
I'm
that's
worried.
that's not optimism. That's just facts, right?
Well, that's just facts.
Like, that's
Yeah,
just facts. Like, that's just saying, like, you don't need all this other stuff if you just let people do what they were doing. Like, people were fine. People were fine. Like, for the last 2 years, we were fine.
I think any rational person that isn't ingrained in whatever MBA program they went to would agree with you. I'm I'm worried that RTO, these hybrid RTO schedules, have been basically pushed but set up to fail. I'm curious if CEOs like wherever, thought they got, overly clever, gave us these RTO schedules, knowing that there'd be a lot of pushback. A lot of people may not show up, as I earlier in the podcast, talking about Google having to literally bribe people. And I wonder at what point are they going to kind of like, lift the curtain and be like, gotcha, you got to be in 5 days a week because RTO wasn't success, or the hybrid schedule wasn't successful. And stuff that we're talking about now, like we know we found a way to help with childcare, to make it affordable, or let people stay at home with kid, but all this stuff. What if it's just all a ruse? Like we're just talking in circles of how it should be, and we're literally going the other way, and we don't realize it.
Well, I think it has to go back to again what we talked about earlier about the power, you know, or what's the term we let's use? Peacocking, you know,
Oh yeah.
because the common sense tells you what was it you said earlier? Billions of dollars have been spent. I mean, you
Yeah.
think about like what it
For
costs
rental occupancy.
to run like a a skyscraper in a city. Like I know our company has skyscrapers in New York City, right? How many people they have there, I don't know. But let's just say, you know, there's 10,000 people there. Listen, you got a situation with bathrooms.
35% occupancy rate.
Yeah, you got, well, here's the thing though. You got to pay for electric, water, paper, cleaning. Let's not even get into the cleaning thing. We'll say that for a little bit. The cleaning that's not happening, right?
Yeah.
That they told us was going to happen.
My keyboard's still covered in Cheeto dust from the person that sat there before.
Yeah, they said, "Oh, we're gonna clean it," but I actually walked past a bowl of tacos that got dumped on the floor at 11 a.m. this morning, and at 4:30 when I left, it was still on the floor. You know what I mean? Like had been cleaned up. But let's talk about like all like the water, the electric. You know how much paper towels, toilet paper, hand soap, paper, just all this stuff that's getting used all day and being absolutely expensive, you know, that you're not that you wouldn't have to pay for or you weren't paying for, not to mention the leases that you're paying, right? So I feel like where's the common sense in that? You know what I'm saying? So obviously common sense isn't being used. What the issue is the power, right? It's what it has to be. I mean, we just talked about how you're a company, whether it's Lowe's or Ally or Bank of America, you know, I mean, I can speak to that essentially, like, why does Bank of America have to even worry about providing childcare when in reality, like, just let your people that just work from home for 2 years continue to do that, and then now that's not even a worry, right? I mean, that's what I don't understand. So I mean, like, there's no common sense there. So I don't even really know how to answer your question, right? Was like, common sense ain't
I,
common, I guess, right? But I mean, like, there's not like a quantifiable, justifiable answer, right?
what's that joke that George Carlin makes? It's possible to be both book stupid and street stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that applies to this, to what we're talking about. Um, but I agree with everything you said. I'm worried. I am worried about the return of the 5 days once they admit, not even admitting, but once they tell us hybrid failed. Essentially, like we failed them, right? We failed upper management by not showing up on randomly selected days, and I think they're gonna. I think employees are gonna be in a world of trouble. Maybe come as soon as September, but I don't want to depress people even more. Listen to this, so we'll move into the second topic I was sent that you also had experience with today, apparently. Road rage issues are actually up. And this was a correlation I didn't even consider until someone actually called me and talked to me about it and sent me articles about it. Road rage, just for people now having to get back up, people like you that have to wake up early, get their kids situated, drop them off at school, whatever, make the 50-minute trek to work. It's up big time. Couple reports on it. What do you think?
Well, I think that's one thing that's quantifiable. Uh, you look at 3 weeks ago, was it 3 or 4 weeks ago when I started going back to the office, traffic in the morning versus what it was yesterday and today. I mean, obviously, more and more places are requiring people to go back. There's more and more cars on the road, which is now leading to more and more traffic, which is now leading to more and more anger, right? Because
Which, by the way, fails go to green completely for
yeah,
every
wait,
company.
yeah, here's
I
the
never
thing.
want to hear go to green again. So
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, yeah. If you said we're trying to go green by whatever, whatever, bro, you can kiss my butt because
yeah,
with the gas prices are what they are right now, what people are to pay, people are to drive. Yeah, so whatever. And then like I said earlier, just in that last rant about the electric, the water, the gas, like some of these buildings are running on gas, heat. Just the paper, the toilet paper. And this is a whole other subject we get into a minute ago, but like the amount of like dookies that are being taken to work right now, out of control. But we'll get that in a minute. But yeah, the road rage. I mean, like, you know, I dropped my daughter at the bus at 6:45 in the morning, and then I'm on my way to work. I get to work usually about 7:15, and I haven't really been hitting traffic. But the last couple of days, I live like 10 minutes later because she's on spring break. All of a sudden, I ran into all kinds of traffic. This morning, I get to my work location. I'm getting ready to turn to the garage. Some guy, speed limit was 25 right on there. Dude, just like, he's behind me. I mean, the speed limit was 25. I'm probably doing 26, 27. I mean, not speeding. I mean, I said I'm speeding, but not anything criminal. If any cops are listening, don't send me a ticket. This guy cuts over outside, fucking, freaking. So much for the PG-13, right? You get one F bomb. He
you get
he,
one F bomb in a
yeah,
PG-13 movie.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. He blows outside of me, screams up beside, gives me a look, cuts over in front of me of my truck. He goes another 150 yards and then turns into the parking lot. And I'm like, what is that all about? That was on the way in, right? Okay, whatever. Way home today, I'm trying to get on the interstate. I'm trying to get to the toll road. And by the way, that's another thing, right? Expenses. Spending so. Yes, if anybody listening want to say I'm bitter, you're damn right I'm bitter. I'm just going to keep harming that because Brad told me about y'all's evals on the first one. But, but yeah, man. I mean, like, first off, all the gas I'm spending, right? And then, like, if I want to get home at a decent time, even if I leave, so I get there at 7:15, I'm leaving at 3:15, 3:30. I'm talking about I'm not taking lunch because we talked about the lunch thing. That is 8 hours of me working. That's what you got. I'm gone. Like when I work from home, you got me for probably 9 or 10 hours a day. When I'm in the office, you got me for 8, and I'm gone. See you later. Goodbye. But even then, leaving at 3:15, 3:30, when I get on the interstate, apparently I'm not the only one doing that, right? Because it's jammed. So you have to take the express lane if you don't want to sit in traffic for 2 hours and get home and not get home till 8 o'clock, even when leaving there at 3 or what 6 or 7. So I'm trying to get over, and do things, and there's just more people on the road, and they're all probably just as mad or angry and irritated as I am that they're doing this. And we just had a huge road rage incident where some guy tried to cut me off, gave me the finger, cussed at me and stuff. And all I want to do was get over 2 lanes to get on the express lane, so I could pay $15 to run down it and pass all the traffic versus sit in traffic for 2 hours. And,
Yeah.
and and that's just another thing. That's just another thing that we don't need. That's happening because of this mandatory. Hey, I know you did your job the last 2 years, and you did it so well. We gave you a pay raise twice, and we gave you bonuses because you were really doing a good job at it. but we're gonna need you to just like come in the office, like I mean, for what? So, yeah, that's what this. Yeah, I'm salty, very much.
Well,
But those are
I
those are
guess.
things that are happening. That's just that I'm telling you what's happening to me, but I know it ain't just me, especially from the feedback we got from the first thing, right? Like, and I talked and when I get home, I got home today and I talked to some of my people that I was friends with, and I finally called them back and was like, hey man, I know it's been a few days, sorry I didn't talk to you, but and we chatted for a while. It was the same stuff. Like this ain't just coming from me. I'm actually telling you my stories, but I'm also relaying stuff that I'm getting from other people. You know, like, and I'm
Well,
sure whoever listens to this podcast is probably sitting in the office at one of these farms right now. They're probably that red circle dude. I know, Brad, you can't see this, but and they're feeling it. They're feeling the same thing, right?
well, I feel like we've been a lot of doom and gloom on this one, so I do want to switch it up. I actually had someone contact me to say that we shouldn't be so negative. And at first I was like, screw this person. But then I thought about it and he he had some points. We shouldn't just be complaining all the time. So I tried to rack my brain for reasons that being in your cube farm is good. This is not satirical, by the way. This isn't supposed to be a joke. I know my tone of voice is off with that. So I have some, Jason, and you could call it the BS game. You could tell me if it's BS or not.
Well, since I'm supposed to be the angry, whatever one,
Yes.
I'll gladly call him out if I need to. So, what do you got?
All right. So the first one is the commute. But
Garbage.
wait, but the commute,
I've
the
heard that
commute
one.
has an asterisk. The commute has an asterisk to it because what someone's trying to say is you could maybe learn a language driving 40 minutes every day. You could do meditation in your car, which I'm not sure how that works. You could take time to clear your mind, listen to the music you haven't gotten to, listen to your favorite podcast. What do you think? Legit or BS?
BS. I'm gonna tell you right now why. Because okay, so here's the thing. BS because there was a time pre-COVID when I would listen to music and podcasts and stuff at my desk, but at the same time, I would miss a lot of stuff because I would be, we had a team and we were all together. Like you remember those days, right? We would hang out and stuff. And then yeah, there was times that, you know, um, I'd be riding home from work and just jamming my 3-6 Mafia or whatever. I still didn't even enjoy it then. I mean, I still wanted to get home to my family. Like knowing that like, hey, dinner's almost ready and blah blah blah. And it was, by the time if you left at 5 o'clock, by the time you get home with traffic at 6:37, you know. Um, so now I'm thinking like, well, I've listened to all the music I want to listen to all day because there's nobody to talk to. There's nothing going on in the office. I listen to Bob and Tom in the morning. I listen to their whole damn show. Matter of fact, I'll even listen to the East Coast portion. Actually, go on iTunes and listen to the California version, so I get the whole show. That takes me till about 1 o'clock. You know, uh, but
I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna say BS because first of all, I don't know who the hell's learning languages
yeah, that's the thing. I'm
driving
like,
home.
who's listening? Like what? Like who still has languages on tape? Or and if you do
and
have
I,
it, like, come on,
and I also don't know how safe it is to meditate driving on a highway. So I'm
it's
gonna
not.
I'm gonna call BS on
And
that one.
like I said, the traffic's getting worse, and I don't care what city you're in, it's
Yeah.
getting worse. And dude, if you're trying to learn a language or meditate while you're driving, you're part of the problem. So please don't do that anymore. You know what I mean?
All
Like,
right.
so
So
BS
the
on that one.
so the second one is this is for a certain, I guess, type of individual that needs structure. So the second one is having a routine, which means waking up early, 40 minutes to work, 40 minutes when you get home. Just having a routine because some people need routine and structure in their life. BS or no?
Well, all right, that's a tough one. Some people do need a routine. I mean, some people do need the structure, right? There's people that can function without structure and make plans and do things. There's other people that need it. I'll say for me personally, I'm gonna say BS because I already had structure. Like as a person who has a child, you know, whether I'm working remote or from the office, that child has to be at school every day at a certain time, and I'm responsible for getting them there. So I still have to get up. We still have to do the breakfast thing. We still have to do the lunch thing. We still have to do the whatever, right? So I, I don't know. I guess if you don't have a kid, I mean, uh, like
I'll answer this then because I don't have a kid and I'm a mess of a human being even on my best day. Routine is wildly overrated unless you're coming out of like rehab or something. Like if you're a normal person, you know, your routine could be waking up at 9 a.m. and logging on to work. I don't have to fight traffic to feel like I have a routine. So I'll call BS on routine. The third one, having a dedicated working space.
yeah, I have a dedicated working space. It's in my office in my house that I purchased.
See, I'm
It-
gonna actually
so,
disagree with you on this one. This one I think is a legitimate point. I think if you have a dedicated working space in an office building that you have to report to, once you leave that building, that's it. You're not doing any more work. That's your dedicated working space, and you're going home for the day. You're not logging back on when you get home. I think there's some validity in that one
well, I will agree with
for the people that work 60, 70 hours, stuff like that.
I will agree with you on that because that's what I'm doing right now. I mean, um, when I was working remote home full time, I probably was putting a lot more hours, right? Now, I have a dedicated working space. Like I'm not working and that's what I wonder too if like some of these people aren't understanding. When I say people like these CEOs and stuff. Bro, I'm not working at my pool. I'm not out on the boat all day, which I could be by the way. But I'm not out on the boat all day using the internet from my phone to do my job. Like I have a designated office in my house, right? Even
Yeah.
before I had the house, when I lived in an apartment, I had a designated area that when I worked remote, that's where I worked from, right there, right? That was like my office, and it has everything I need to do my job. Like I would give extra hours all the time. Like if I needed to, you know, um, finish up a project, I don't just like come home from my daughter's basketball thing and then bring my computer downstairs and just mess around with it. Like I go to my office and I sit down and I do stuff. That was extra time. Now, when you say designated workspace in the office, you've given me that now. So on those days that I have to be in the office, like you said, when I leave at 3:30, I'm not turning that back on until the next day.
Yeah.
Not doing it. And I've already run into some issues where someone was like, "Hey, this came back today at like 4:45 and you didn't close it. So that could be an issue." And I was like, "Yeah, well, I was already done for the day."
I'm,
You know
I'm
what I mean?
like
I was
I'm
like,
gonna
"Well, too bad."
yeah. I'm gonna end this one like that. There's some validity to this, but it's fluky how
There
it could go.
there's some validity to it, but at the same time, I don't know, like I said, if some of these people are taking into account like designated workspace. You know what I think? I feel like some of these people think that when we say we're working remote, they're assuming that we're just like I don't know well, I guess you wouldn't say the mall nowadays, but we're just out
On
and
a beach
about.
in Hawaii.
We're on a beach or we're in a hotel, and you know what? I would even say if I'm managing the team and I'm like, hey, where are you at today? I'm at the beach. Oh, are you working? Yeah. All right. Well, hey, you know what your responsibilities are, right? Yeah, I know. And at the end of the day, this dude or girl sends me, or not even sends me because I wouldn't do that. But if I go back and look and like, well, they did everything they were supposed to do today. I don't care where you did it from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really don't care.
All right. Well, so the next one, possible friendships and romance. Sounds like you don't even want to take that one. So
Well, I'm just thinking like, so are you
I'll
telling
I'll
me?
I'll take I'll take this one a little bit. Friendships, sure. they keep touting that as one of the reasons we should be going in. It's a chance to meet new people, new ideas, all this stuff. And I think there is always validity in making friends with people you don't know or people from different walks of life. I guess different teams, different cultures, blah, 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 all that nonsense you always hear. The draw on this is that, at a certain age, you kind of have all the friends you really want or need or can deal with. And, you meet those people, right, that want to be friends with everyone all the time in the office, and it drives you crazy while you're trying to get your work done. I think there's some validity to the friendship part. I think romance in 2022, if you're looking for romance in the office, you are a walking HR nightmare at this point. And I don't know what to tell you. Go on Tinder, go on eHarmony, whatever the new trendy one is, Bumble, I guess. Um, Go that way. Don't be forcing yourself on women or men in the office
Well,
looking for the love of your life. I
I'll,
know generally in the past that's how people see. Part of the problem when they send me this stuff or when I see this stuff is that I think management, higher ups, lazy people think the only way you can make friends or love interests are at work, which is not true. Like I have a pretty good soul. I play sports after work. People go to church. People have hobbies. They go to school. They learn a language. There's tons of ways to meet new people. It doesn't have to be in your office.
no, it doesn't. And so I guess if we're doing the BS meter on this, I'll say that I'll give this one some credence to the friendships. I mean, I've made some really good friends at one of my previous work locations, which you are included in that, right? Um,
Aw, I'm blushing.
yeah, right. And some of the people that I'm sure are listening to this podcast right now, because that's who's to listen to is our friends. I've made good friends
I
with
hope it's a
them.
couple enemies listening to us. That'd be hilarious.
I feel like there's some people that hate me for no reason, but
Oh, there's
um,
a couple people that hate my guts.
for no
Oh,
reasons. And I still don't understand that.
I give
But
them reasons.
well, they're made up. But anyways, like, well, yeah, some people. But anyways, yeah,
Look,
I mean,
I'll give credence to friendships. I'm calling
yeah.
BS on romance,
Well,
especially in today's era.
that's the thing. Like, I mean, but see, there's the thing. I can argue with you or agree with you on like that's how you and I met each other was working in an office and stuff, right?
Not for romance, by the
But
way.
here's the thing:
Friendship.
the way that we
Friendship.
no, yeah, for friendship, yeah. But the way that we became friends or met was in a but it wasn't a cubicle farm. Remember
No, it
how we
wasn't at the
had that?
time. Yep.
How we the bonds that we made and that on that team at that time was not a cubicle farm. It was a whole different scenario. Then when we all moved to the cubicle farm, we actually some of us stayed tighter, others kind of like fell off, you know. And to that point, now I'll say that I've made friendships over the COVID years, the last 2 years, with my team that I've never met them in person. I've never seen them. I don't even know what they look like. I've never seen a picture of them, but I made some really good friendships that I would consider them good friends and can talk to them about anything, you know. So I guess there's kind of like the yes but no, and then like the
We'll give it
relationship,
halfway.
yeah, but the relationship thing, like here's the thing, like if I decide that I want to be in a relationship with someone that I'm working with, 99% of these companies require you to like,
You got to disclose it.
yeah, now
Yeah.
you gotta disclose it. So did I just like hurt myself for my job? You know what I mean? So I that sounds suspect to me.
You know what they say. I'm about to curse, so don't freak out. But don't shit where you eat. That's what the romance thing is. Don't do it.
I would agree with that.
All right. So the next one, food options.
Is this for real or are you just making this up now?
No, it's for real. Food options. You get to enjoy different foods close to where you work that maybe you wouldn't at your house if you're just cooking, lean cuisines or something.
Yeah, that sounds like a total made up thing to support the municipalities that we talked about the other night.
I, I love food, obviously. So do you. I I don't have to be in a city to enjoy pizza. I
Are you calling me
guess
fat?
I don't know.
Are you calling me fat?
Well, I said I enjoy food too. So. All
Yeah.
right, that one we'll just say BS because it's kind of weird. The Friday drinks, meeting up with your team for drinks on a Friday. It's a little different for me and you because our teams aren't around us.
Again, I'm a single parent. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going home. You know?
This is the interesting one. So we have two more.
Actually, to
This one made me.
also real quick, just to counteract that, whenever like they've given the option to do these like hybrid remote things, like what would you
No
say?
one calls in.
Well, I'm saying 90% of the people have chosen Mondays and Fridays off,
Yeah.
right? So who the hell's the one Friday drinks?
Yeah. Um. Here, this one made me chuckle. The scenery.
Oh yes, there's nothing better than looking at a beige and
So
white wall with
I
oh
think they meant more like. I guess if you're in New York or San Francisco, maybe it's different. Like architectural marvels are cool to see, but if you're in like Birmingham or I don't know, Charlotte or something, like there's not really that many architectural marvels to see on your way to work
I imagine
before you hit that page desk.
I'd imagine Charlotte probably has some pretty good views, right? It's a pretty city, but like, what are you looking at in Chandler, Arizona? Like cactuses and desert?
Mountains, I guess. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I got a really
I
good
don't,
view outside my office of my window of my house of my pool and my green grass that I take care of. You know?
piggybacking on a ridiculous one, scenery. Someone put the air conditioning. I guess if you don't live in a place with air conditioning, yeah, summertime to go in and have air conditioning is great.
That's a personal problem. That's not a company culture issue.
So I want to end on this one because me and you talked about it earlier. The dress code. You get to dress up in your finest linen and go and impress people at work.
Are you telling me or asking me? Like, what do you mean?
Bull, BS or no?
I guess that's true because I see dudes. It's mostly dudes
The peacock.
peacocking. You
Yeah.
know, I think I told you the story earlier today that it was yesterday, the day before. Was it? Today was my third day at the office this week, I think. But I wore khakis, like slacks, khakis. And for those of you in Boston, I mean like I wore pants, like dress pants, uh, dress shoes, and a polo. But I didn't tuck my polo in. And I was walking down the hallway, and this guy was just like just hawking me, just staring at me, and it wasn't like he was interested in me or anything like that, right? It was just like I noticed that he was wearing what was he wearing? He was wearing like the sweater with like the dress shirt underneath. It's like super crisp and
Oh,
it's hanging
yeah.
out with like, the perfectly pressed pants and the shoes, and it's all just like he's got the watch, like it's all just like connected. And he's looking at me, and he looked me up and down. And I could tell he was probably like, "Oh, look at this guy with his trashy Walmart khakis and his polo that's untucked." And it's like, I actually kind of felt like bad for a second, but then I realized I don't care anymore because I'm like that old now. Um, but so yeah, I mean, there's definitely people out there that that's it for them. Like they finally get to go back out in the public and show off their outfits, and that's all it's about. Because those, like you said in the last podcast, those people aren't the workers, man. Like
No.
it's like construction, right? Where like my brother shows up in his like jeans with like 15 holes in them, and he just looks like trash, but he gets on the machine and can run the crap out of an excavator. But then you got the other guy with all the fly stuff on, and he can't even use a shovel. You know what I mean? He's just there to
Yeah.
look good. He's just here to look cool and look good. And that guy, all that guy is there is for some on-site mentoring. That's what he's there for.
I'm I'm gonna call this dress code thing BS because if you know me or if you don't, I don't dress up for anything. I think today I wore red pants, Air Force Ones, and a T-shirt to work, where everyone was wearing button-down sweater vests and their fanciest shoes they could afford. I have a
You didn't wear
philosophy.
your Twinkie the Kid shirt?
No, that's been banned. I have a philosophy. If where I work wants me to be a fashion icon, you better pay me to be a fashion icon. Because if not, I'm not wasting my time. I'm not coming in 3-piece suits with a pocket watch just to do it. Like, it's uncomfortable. In the summer, you might as well kill me. It's not happening. Uh, respect to respect to everyone that thinks they're going to be the next model for Perry Ellis or somebody like that walking into the office, but it's BS. That's it for the list of stuff I got. So I figured we'd end this podcast on some funny stuff. What's your wildest story in the Cube farm, Jason?
I actually can't tell it because it would be breaking confidentiality rules. But
Tell your second wildest.
yeah, I will say, like, if anybody who knows me, I do have disability from the military, and I have stomach problems,
Oh, Jesus.
and so yeah, Brad. Okay, see, he makes me feel so good about my issues. But something that's been another thing that's been nice about working from home is when I have stomach issues, like it's not a big deal. Like you're at home, you know. And so I've had to use the restroom quite a bit, you know. And yes, I'm compensated from the military for it, but like today, like, I'm actually to the point where I can't even like eat breakfast or anything, so that I don't have to like use the restroom, Or if I'm gonna go out on a date or something, I just can't eat before, right? If they're like, hey, you want to go to dinner first? I'm like, nope, no. Well, anyways, um, today, like, for whatever reason, my stomach was hurting, so the bathroom is right next to us. We're of course shut down, closed. I was like, great. So I finally find the restroom. There's one stall open. I go in there. I'm not in there for like 2 minutes. I found like 5 people trying to open the door to come in. Like, it's like there's a massive flood of people just like maybe experiencing the same problems that I am uh, right now, or maybe something changed over COVID, but there's a lot of people that got to take dookies at work, you know? And right now, it seems like we don't have the space to accommodate everybody. So they probably should close the Moe's downstairs. That's all I can say, So
Jeez. All right. Well, my my favorite interesting story that happened to me was a couple years ago. Place I was at, I worked with a lot of former federal agents, and one former DEA agent hated my guts and would threaten to fight me in the parking lot for a solid 2 weeks until he was finally fired. So, yeah, corporate America's been fun for me. Um, I guess leave it on that. You got any shout outs, Jason? Or you got any?
no, no shout outs tonight, but I just want to say thanks everyone for listening, and we'll keep trying to work on this. And yeah, this one was all about corporate America and stuff, but we'll have some other stuff, coming up where we'll talk about, you know, movies and funny things. So I hope you guys didn't think I was sounding too angry tonight. So
Um, thanks for everyone that'll listen, because I'll probably force it on you guys by sending you links. If you have any ideas or articles, I'm always receptive to, you can text them to me or email them to me at lostindallas87@gmail.com. And my only shout out tonight is to the Charlotte Hornets. Thanks for letting me down one more time.
they did. All right,
Yep.
thanks everyone.